Okay, hi. Welcome to whoever's watching this to Connect Community Center for Wellbeing. You are seeing the group space here at Connect, at least part of it. And I'm broadcasting over our new owl, which is a technology that allows you to see the whole room, and it kind of zooms up. So as I move around, it's not like perfect, but it gives us the sense of being together in a room. So this is our hybrid solution, which we're really excited to introduce and work into our groups. Now, I'm just realizing I'm sharing my computer sound, so I hope I might need to say that again because I don't know if it actually heard me. You can hear me though, so maybe it's okay. Okay, so hi, I'm Liberty Gonzalez, and I'm one of the co-owners here at Connect. I am also the founder and owner of Awakening Creatives LLC, which is my coaching, consulting, and education business. And I am launching these new coaching groups. Now, I have been running a couple of offerings out of the Connect space over the last 6 months that we've been open, but those were drop-in groups and workshop type of things. So what I'm going to be sharing with you today is some upcoming offerings that are closed cohort coaching groups, and I'll get into what all of that means. I'm gonna grab my notes here real quick. I'm really curious to see how the owl responds to me moving around in my creative swirl here. Can you see me down here, owl? Yeah, okay. So what we'll do today is I'm gonna introduce myself and tell you a little bit about my background and like how I got here to doing this work, and why I'm doing these groups, why are these important at this time, and what you might get out of them, who these groups are for, the kinds of experiences you might be having that would lead you to join one of these groups, and then I'll get into like the benefits and the registration bonuses and like everything that's included with your registration and like logistical stuff. So let me start with a little bit of who I am. Actually, I'm gonna move over here. Let's see, can you still see me over here, owl? This is also sort of my my tech test for running these groups. This is very exciting. Okay, so I am Liberty Gonzalez. I am originally from the West Coast, and I've been here in St. Louis, Missouri for the last 5 years, practicing mostly online. The majority of that time was sort of pandemic times, so I was doing coaching and consulting kind of all over the country, and also supporting dialogue facilitations cross-culturally and within the workplace, helping people to cultivate more humanizing relationships, more genuine relationships in the workplace. But my background is actually in eco-village organizing and activism, grassroots activism. So where I would say that my career or my path of work was born was really out of a desire to see a more life-affirming world, to see a world that with systems and cultural norms that affirm people's aliveness and affirm people's various expressions, identities, backgrounds, etc. So that kind of that led me into the diversity, equity, inclusion world, where I've been doing most of my consulting work. But on the coaching front, I had a little bit more room to play. So as an activist, I did a lot of creative work, working with groups to express themselves, to express their issues, and to have a full range of expression through direct action, art, and spiritual expressions of many different kinds. And so I work all of that into my coaching. And really what I'm hoping to do through this work is to uplift people who are perhaps on the fringes or on the edges of social innovation, who are seeing the world and the dysfunction and see themselves as a part of either the solution or the creative emergence of what comes next. What is beyond oppression? Can we even imagine that? Those are some of the questions that I help people to sort out. And within that, really rooting into our values around, what am I here for? What did I come to this planet to do in this lifetime? And what do I really care most about? So a lot of us are sort of raised in an environment where that prescription is given to us of what's important, what we should value, what we should think and believe. And for a lot of us who question that, it can really be a harrowing pathway to think differently and maybe challenge some of those assumptions and ideas. So the coaching spaces that I provide are really affirming of your unique journey from your background, your positionality in questioning and imagining new possibilities. So that could be anything from starting a visionary business, a social entrepreneurship, or even taking a leadership position in, we have one more person joining us. Or even, hi, Sarina. Thanks for being here. My support team coming to shake some pom-poms, thank you. Yeah, so even if you are like taking a leadership position in your organization, or kind of pushing the envelope in your team, asking people to expand their thinking and to maybe challenge different isms that are coming up in your organization. Racism, sexism, transphobia, ableism, all of these things that maybe dampen each other's living expression. So our freedom to be living beings without having to hide ourselves. So the groups that I'm offering are coming from that place of wanting to uplift everybody's organic life expression. And one of the reasons why these groups are so important to me right now, and why they're coming from like my most sacred values, is because I believe that a lot of people are feeling the need to express what's going on around them and to call things by their names, to call racism by its name, to call transphobia by its name, to call genocide by its name. And that process can be really scary and very lonely and isolating. And even if you're not like ready to call things by their names, but you just want to live a more aligned life where you feel like you're really doing what you came here to do, and you're feeling in integrity with yourself through your work, these groups are here to support you in that process of uncovering what it is that matters to you the most, so that you can create your work, create your life path from that place of deep rootedness. So there's a few assumptions that these groups make. And I want to make those really explicit because this is, these are philosophies that I hold that and perhaps biases that I hold as well. As somebody who was raised white in America, from a Jewish background, who's become pagan and has come out as genderqueer, all of these things sort of have impacted my my perspective on the world. And so some of the assumptions that I make in these groups is that all human beings are worthy of compassion. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to invite you to, try to find compassion for your abusers. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that anyone who comes into the space, into the group, will be held in compassionate regard. So whether you're having, an experience that is really different from somebody else in the group, my role as the facilitator and my commitment is to hold space for all of the experiences in the room. Okay, so that's one assumption. Another assumption is that you are an organic, living, creative being. Okay, that was a lot of words, so I'm going to say it again. You are an organic, living, creative being. And this might seem like really basic, like, well, duh. But why that is so important to me is because at the core of my coaching methodology is the belief that we are a part of nature, that we are organic, and that we are alive. And to me, what that means from my science background is that you are in constant movement, and you are constantly creating, even at an unconscious level. So even if you don't believe that you're creative, you don't identify as a creative, at an atomic level, you are constantly creative and creating with your body, with the air around you, with the relationships in your life, and that your process is going to come from that organic place. So again, why this is important is because a lot of the systems that we are embedded in, namely capitalism, colonialism, et cetera, assume that you are maybe don't center the aliveness of who you are and see humans more as pieces of a puzzle, or cogs in a wheel, or part of a machine that ultimately produces profit for companies and creates wealth. And that while there's lots of business coaches out there who will tell you like how to get rich and how to live an opulent lifestyle of your dreams, that's not what I hold space for. I'm going to support you if you choose, if your vision for your life and for your work is X, Y, and Z. I'm going to support you in taking the action towards that vision. But I'm also going to really hold strong to the assumption that you are alive, you are a living, organic, creative being. And when I get into a little bit more of my coaching methodology, you'll see like why I'm hitting this point home. Okay, so my core coaching methodology. This is something that again is an assumption of mine, something that comes from a really deep-rooted place in my history as somebody who grew up close to trees. I developed a really strong connection and relationship to the trees in my neighborhood. And as a coping and survival mechanism to survive the violence of my household, I developed a really strong relationship to the trees, who were able to hold a compassionate, rooted presence for me as a child. And as I grew up and I healed through some of that trauma, I realized that there's really something to that. And what you see in all like therapy modalities is a commitment to holding unconditional positive regard for other humans. And perhaps I project that onto trees, that that's what they're doing. But that was my experience. And as I worked with eco-villages and people who are really dedicated to earth-based practices, including indigenous lifeways and earth-based spirituality, I learned that there is really something to having a non-human organic life force holding space for us in our learning. So let me explain how this has become a part of my core coaching methodology. Because I'm not Indigenous, I'm not from a lineage where I can teach you a particular like cultural cosmology. Although I am informed by my paganism and my Judaism, that definitely comes into the room. But when we look at any culture that is rooted in the earth, that believes that we are a part of nature, or that we are nature, and that we are inherently tied to its cycles and its rhythms, we see how do I explain this? Give me a second to root into into this. Okay, so any earth-based practice is going to have relationships to the beings around it. And in a lot of places in the world, some of the largest, most present non-human beings are trees. In some places, there really aren't many trees. And so those, the relationships that are centered might be other types of plants or animals, or even stones and bodies of water. But because of my background as a Jew, the tree has become a really powerful symbol in understanding how the creative process moves through organic beings. And I'm going to show you a little graphic here that explains how I work this into my coaching methodology. So this is a picture of a tree. I hope you can see this. The camera is sort of adjusting here. So here we have sort of our seed, right? This, and we can, hey, owl, come back. Come back. Okay, here we go. So here we see the seed. This is sort of the condensed, the little condensed package of knowledge that we hold. If we're using the tree sort of as a metaphor for our own growth, this seed is us at birth. We come with all of this knowledge innately embedded in our being, and the seed holds, you know, all of the information that it needs to create an entire lifespan of trunks and branches and twigs and leaves and fruits, right? So one of the things that we do in coaching is getting really in touch with what is my potent seed of wisdom. Or another way to put that is like, what is my innate gift? What am I here for? What did I come here for? And then when I'm gonna step back and see if the owl will. We were testing this out, and we noticed that like you have to start talking. Like I think it follows your opening mouths. So we were going, ah. Okay. Owl keeps it fresh here. Okay, so once the seed has been activated, the water starts to penetrate, it finds soil, it gains the courage to put its roots out into the world. Then we get rooted. And in the human sense, these roots are our values. They're what hold us to life, what connect us to our life force. So if, for me, for example, one of my really important roots down here is liberation. One of the things that I live for that really roots me to my work and to my existence is a striving for liberation for all beings. So that's one thing that I bring to this space and to my rooted values is a root of liberation. And you can't really see it on the camera right now, but other ones are like community, expression, truth, and honesty, connection. So these are things that I know deeply are what drive me and are really sacred to me. So one of the things that we'll do in both of the groups that I'm holding is we're going to get in touch with what are our rooted values. What are the things that really get us, that connect us to life and connect us to a passion or a drive to reach out into the world and share our gifts. So in the tree's sense, when a seed is sufficiently rooted, the seed can reach its life force up and into the world, right? It gains a structure. It creates a structure for itself. It creates a sturdiness to lift up into the world. And in a human sense, these are your trunk are things that that allow you the strength to lift up into the world. So these might be the skills that you've gained, the knowledge about how to navigate the world or your profession even. These are experiences that have tempered you, that have strengthened you, and also the models that you've learned, the roles that you have taken in the world, the things that if you lost all of your jobs or all of your clients or all of your opportunities, that would still be inherent to you. You'd still hold that strength as a part of your being. That cannot be taken from you, right? So lastly, we have the branches here that allow us to reach out in whatever directions we choose, or perhaps whatever directions have enough resources to reach out into, right? Sometimes we just don't have what we need to reach out into a particular direction yet, and that's okay, because we have to continue our life. Sometimes we go towards the opportunities that are available to us, and that's okay. But in this model, I encourage people to play around with this and to draw on different branches and see what it feels like to hold this project or this branch of your business, or to take on this new client. So this model gives people an opportunity to explore a little bit and play and try on an embodiment of different possibilities. So this is a part of creating your vision for how you might do your work in the world. And then, of course, we have the fruits of your labor, I like to call them. When you reach out in a different direction, you put a lot of energy into it, you're hoping that it's going to bear fruit of some kind, whether that be money to, to sustain your life, or maybe learning, perhaps relationships, any number of things we can frame as fruits, even things that maybe aren't so pleasant, unpleasant learning experiences or whatnot. So this in a very quick package is one of the activities that I facilitate in my core coaching methodology, and an assumption again that you are a living being, you are a creative being, constantly growing and also losing parts of yourself as you choose to let them go, and you or you lose opportunities or you have conflict. It's an acknowledgement that as the storms come, some branches are going to fall away, and we then have to go through the process of decomposing those things, processing those things, and integrating those experiences into our soils again, so that we can be nourished by those efforts. So this is a nice big metaphor that I use to help us to ground into this sort of assumption that we are organic, living, creative beings. Okay, so there's the foundation, and I wanted to cover that first because that core coaching methodology is embedded throughout all of the offerings that I have, and I built them from that place. So I'm going to go into the 2 closed cohort coaching groups that start in January, with a more of a focus on the Rooted Vision Cultivator. And next week, we'll focus a little bit more on the Liberatory Care Winter cohort, which is the other group. So these 2 groups I sort of designed as the yin and the yang, acknowledging that for some of us, we are at a stuck place in our work, or perhaps we have this like big vision with like lots of different possibilities, and we're not really sure which direction to take. That could be that you're going through an employment transition, or you're imagining a business, or you're imagining a new direction for your business, or for a program or an initiative that you've taken on in your workplace. So grab some water here. So for those, for that experience, the Rooted Vision Cultivator is designed to help you, again, to root into those most sacred values and go through the process of imagining the different directions that are possible for you. But with that, like that core, that inner wisdom, that inner knowing of your value, so that we can avoid just throwing ourselves out into the world in many different directions that are potentially going to go against our values, or even exploit our knowledge, exploit our labor. Well, we don't want to do that. Yes. So this will give us an opportunity to reflect a little bit on what are some of the experiences that we've had that were really empowering, maybe some work experiences that were not so empowering, and to work those into a vision and a plan of action for the coming year, to actually produce different goals and inspired actions that we can take towards that vision. The Liberatory Care Winter cohort, on the other hand, is sort of the yin for the yin folks, people who maybe are burnt out and have been at this and have been going through the motions and doing the work, maybe have overdone it, went to too many protests over the last couple of decades and really need to root back into why am I doing this work? What are my most sacred values that are keeping me here doing the work? And how can I resource and regenerate so that when I do go back to doing the work, I'm coming from a place of being rooted in rhythms of care that are really for my liberation. So when I say rhythms of care that are for my liberation, a lot of times we have been sold this idea that like self-care is this thing that you do on your own after work or on the weekends. You go and do your self-care thing. And the liberatory care winter cohort is a place for us to imagine what is beyond isolated care practices. So when we think of liberation, that's going to mean something very different to everybody, each from our own positionalities, our own resources and needs. What supports your liberation is going to be unique. And so the liberatory care winter cohort will invite us to look at what is liberation for me? What do I need for my liberation, both individually and collectively? So if I need to take more baths, that's great. But if I need to embody my values more and speak out against a particular issue, or get connected to community and build my community of care, those are all sort of nuanced possibilities of creating a rhythms of liberatory care. Okay, I've said a lot of words. I want to check in with those who are listening. If you have any thoughts or questions at this point, I've kind of outlined the coaching methodology, where that came from, why that's important to me, and a little overview of the two groups. And I am going to go deeper into the Rooted Vision Cultivator and then like the logistics for all of the groups. But I just want to check in at this point and see if there's anything coming up for you.
You might go over this in a minute, but I was just curious about, you mentioned you're going to do this for the next 6 weeks in January. Are you going to do another cohort like later in the year?
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. So to be totally transparent, I have been developing this coaching methodology over the last decade, and I have used it in one-on-one groups or one-on-one sessions, and very small isolated team settings, but I haven't held groups like this around it yet. So this is an opportunity for me to try these on in a group setting like this. And I'm going to learn so much through this process, and then, process that and figure out what to do next with that. Maybe that's a co-creative process with the folks in the group, or potentially a longer cohort in the future. I don't really know yet, but I'm open to the creative process here. So if it's like, if someone's called to do this work, that matters more to me than exactly like how and when we're going to do it. Mm-hmm. If that makes any sense. Like, yeah. I want to work with people who are ready to do this work.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We'll find a way. So I see in the chat. So are you okay with me reading this out loud, Sarina? Okay. So I want to create wealth so I can afford better soil for my garden of life. I don't know if that makes sense. It totally makes sense to me. But supporting my family financially so we don't have to struggle to eat, travel to diverse nature places, etc. I struggle with my desire to interrupt capitalism and also need to make my bills. I know my values more or less, but sometimes they're hard to hold in our current systems of oppression. Oh, I'm so glad that you said that and that you brought this up. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, first of all, I just want to say I'm with you. I am in this struggle with you. And I don't have the answers. And this is really important for you to understand as being in a coaching relationship is I'm not going to give you the answers. I don't have them because I'm not you. You are creating your organic garden of life, right? And only you have that seed of wisdom. What I can offer is an environment and a support system to get some feedback and create new possibilities. So let me get more specific. In terms of creating wealth, first of all, I want to decouple capitalism and wealth. Yes, wealth is something very different, at least in my mind. Money is like one way that we have been taught to quantify wealth, and also I want to decouple capitalism and money, which I know might seem like counterintuitive, but money is, if we're going with our metaphor of the tree, money is like minerals in the soil. It is a nutrient. It's a nutrient. It's not, we have lots of ideas about money, right? And lots of beliefs and like sticky stuff around money, which we can definitely unpack in these spaces. I think it's really important too, because when we start to see the nutrients or the resources around us and kind of let go of some of the baggage that comes with them. In some coaching spaces, they call them like limiting beliefs. We have these limiting beliefs around money that keep us from going after it or inviting it or asking for it. When we see money as a resource and as the minerals that enrich our soil, we can start to get more creative about how we invite it in. There's another piece to this that's really important, and it's about value. I think there's this idea about values that they're like concepts that they're principles that we're like, oh yeah, these are my values. I'm going to live my values. But like, what is that? What is that? What is it in our body? How do we feel that in our bodies? What does it look like when it's in action? That is a little bit trickier. We have to define that and actually feel like when I am experiencing community, for example, is one of my values. When I'm experiencing community, what is that really like? And the other part about values is it's also the value of our life. When I can value my own life as one of my core values, then it makes asking for what I need to enrich my life a lot easier. So if I'm like, yeah, I'm a fucking badass and I need 100K to do what I want to do to flourish, I'm going to claim that. And it's going to be a lot easier to ask for it, make plans for it, and take action towards it. Okay. I don't know if I answered your question. I just said a bunch more things. Is there anything else that's coming up for you, Sarina, around that? No. Okay. I promise that in these groups, I'm not just going to proselytize. I think it's important to define what I'm about, so that people can decide like, oh, am I about that too? Or is that like really where I want to go? I did get a question from someone outside of this session about like business building. Like, can we do business building in this group? Yes. And the way that I'm talking about you being a living, organic, creative being, business is a mode. It's a strategy for embodying your values, right? And nourishing that life force. So we can get all the way into it, down to the nitty-gritty of your action plan of what am I going to do in the next season, and what do I plan to do over the next 4 seasons that are going to potentially produce this value that I need to enrich my creative garden. Okay. What else? Anything else? Yeah.
I have one more question. I know you kind of went over like who this is for, the Rooted Vision Cultivator session. And you're talking about like people coming with starting businesses and things. What about just like, I mean, I'm sure you're going to say yes, but just like smaller projects, like just things that you've been dreaming about for years and you just need help to like get the momentum going. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, I just need someone to help, like maybe structure, maybe a little bit of a push, just like talk through it. Is that the right idea that I'm getting from this type of group?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think one thing that sets this group apart a little bit is it's not limited to business owners or organizational leaders, although those I name those specifically because oftentimes those are people who have a lot of different branches growing, but yeah, if you have a project, an initiative, it doesn't have to be something that you are trying to make money off of even. It can be just a way that you are trying to embody your values and make an impact in your life or in the world. Awesome. Yeah. And I would say that that's true for both groups. The distinction between the groups is that the Rooted Vision Cultivator, we will be coming out of it with an action plan, a 4 seasons action plan. Whereas the Liberatory Care Winter Cohort is really more about getting in touch with the types of care that you need and getting into rhythms of care that will help you to regenerate so that you can resource that activated energy, that yang energy, to go out and reach your branches out. Yes. Changes anything? Oh, that's nice. Any other questions? So action plan. Okay. It's really helpful. Look forward to more conversations. So action plan for spring, summer, autumn, and next winter. Yes. Well, no. I would consider this to be like the solstice, which happy solstice, everyone. From a like sun and moon perspective, the solstice would be the start of the winter. So we'll be getting started around the winter and using the winter to kind of a little bit prototype what one season of change looks like. And then using that to create kind of a creative rhythm for the remaining 3 seasons. So one of the principles that we'll cover in this coaching methodology is that creativity goes in cycles. If we look at we look at nature, we look around us, everything is going in a cycle. If you've ever planted a garden, you know that most not annuals, what's the other one? Sorry, I'm getting a little distracted. There's folks coming in at the moment. perennials, that's the word I was looking for. Most perennials are a season, they take a season to sprout their seed and produce their fruit and get a harvest. So we could also think about this in terms of like quarters. If you want to integrate this into the frameworks that were given for tax purposes. So I'm not trying to completely divorce us from the systems that we're still embedded in. I think it's important that we make that we make this livable. Wow, the effect here on the camera is super trippy. Okay. Come back over here. Yeah, so I really want you to be able to walk away from these groups feeling like, okay, I know what I need to do next. I get this like the sense of where I'm going, even if in each season I need to do a reflection and do a course correction. At least you have that structure and framework to move through the year with. I think that can be really grounding, especially for those of us who get like scattered in the process and you're like, oh my gosh, I've done all these things and I don't know where to go next. You have that model to come back to ground into your why. Why am I doing this? What's most important to me? What did I learn from this past cycle? And then with that knowledge and learning and understanding, where do I want to go next? Yes. And one thing I love about this model is that it's always applicable. You know, it's really more of a skill of aligning to natural cycles than it is anything that I came up with, if that makes sense. Cool. Okay, so we have just a few minutes left. I'm going to quickly go over what this looks like in what do you get in your registration and where do you go to sign up? Okay, so this is the landing page for the program. So these are things that we've kind of already covered. By the way, when we're done with this, you'll be able to, this button will turn into a replay button. You can come back and revisit this if you need to. We talked about all of this. You want to make an impact and a livelihood through your work without burning out. This group is for you. Some of the things that we'll do in this group, we already talked about. One thing I want to point out is like being in a group environment is a unique way to go about this process. One thing I love about groups is the feedback and the relationships that you create in the process. Sarina and I met in a group just recently. And it's kind of amazing how like intimate you can get with people, even in the first meeting, who are like-minded. Yeah, so another thing I want to point out is transforming shadows. One thing that we didn't talk about is what lives in the soils. We did touch on it, but a lot of times we have unprocessed stuff, trauma, you know, ghosts that come up throughout this process when we are, you know, trying to create. A lot of those things will surface and we can hold compassionate space for them to work through them. Okay, but what will we be doing? Again, we will be ultimately coming up with a plan of action for a 4-season plan of action. Okay, what is included? 6 weeks of live group sessions. I'm capping it at 8. We already have 1 person registered for this group and 3 others sort of in queue. So I do expect it to fill up. There'd be one goal alignment call, also sort of an intention setting call for what you hope to get out of the 6 weeks. Discounted one-on-one sessions and packages. So I really want this work to work for you. And if you need to go deeper into an issue or a particular thing you're stuck on, a one-on-one session is really awesome for that. And I think it's like really I think it's like 50% off or something like that. Don't quote me on that. I'll get you the figure on that if you're curious, but I wanted to make that accessible for folks. And then you get enrolled in a 4-season course that I recorded over the pandemic called the Awakening Change Creators Field Guide. And this online course, it's self-guided, it's optional. It touches on a lot of the concepts that that is worked into the core coaching methodology, but there's also additional skills and exercises that you can do. A lot of them are creative exercises, so things that will invite you to draw and imagine, guided visualizations and whatnot. It's an incredible added value, and I'll probably refer folks to different parts of it throughout the group. So if you're trying to work through a particular area and I'm like, oh, this exercise is perfect for what you're going through, I'll direct you there. There's also some really cool talks with different wellness professionals, and you can learn more about that by clicking the link. Newly announced, very excited. I attended a group where they worked in ecstatic dance as part of the integration for the work. And we do host ecstatic dances here at the center. So your registration will include 2 ecstatic dances. You can come in person or stream online. And then just a little note here, in an attempt to create an environment where we can build trust and create safety together, we do ask that you have a basic understanding of systems of oppression. You've done some work around unconscious bias in yourself from your own positionality. Don't need to be perfect around this. We're not going for some high ideal, but we do want you to have processed some of this content already in your work or your life. Okay, and finally, this runs for 6 weeks starting on January 3rd, from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Central. Your choice of coming in person to connect and sitting with me here. One great thing about this space is there's lots of room to move around. And for some people, it's helpful to go physically to another place. But if you want to zoom in from your studio or from your bedroom or from your local park, you're welcome to choose a place that feels really grounding and supportive for you. And we are working on a sliding scale of being aware that there are limited community supported spaces. So that's the 220 is the community supported spaces. And the prices will be adjusted when those spaces are full. So if you are able to register at another price point, that's great. There's 3 tiers here. And there are limited scholarship places. One of them is already full. But if you are not able to afford this, but this is something you absolutely need in your life, and you feel really called to work with me and to work with this content, then email me at liberty@awakeningcreatives.com. Okay. Any more questions?
I have one more question.
Yes.
I was just curious about, this might totally depend on the person and the project, or business that they're working on, do you expect that there will be almost like homework to do on your own, like for the next session, or are the sessions more just a check-in, or is it more guided, like workshops, or how does that, those are two questions, but
Yeah. That's a great question. Thank you so much. Yeah, so the structure of the session, it is dependent on who is in the room and what you're bringing. So the core coaching methodology is something that I'll share with everyone. That's a guided activity and a framework that will be sort of a grounding point throughout. But it won't take up like the majority of each session. This is the first session we'll spend a little bit more time orienting ourselves, but we'll also spend a lot of time getting to know each other. And then each session we'll have a chance to check in about what has come up for you over the last week. If you want to engage in some coaching conversation, getting some feedback from me or even from the group about where your stuck point is, or advice if that's what you need, then it's sort of open to what you need in that week. And to the homework point, I will always make invitations and suggestions as they occur to me. But there is no like set homework assigned each time. If your project has you mulling about this one part, or it makes sense for you to go out and do some research or make some connections, then we'll talk about that in each session.
Okay, cool. And then when does registration close for this?
Yeah, good question. January 2nd. So the day before this group starts will be the last time to register, unless we fill up, in which case I'll announce that. But it's also the day that registration closes for the other group, the Liberatory Care Winter Cohort, which starts on the 4th. So registration for both groups close on the 2nd. If you are not able to sign up for a group at this time, there is one more opportunity for you. And it's not a closed group, but it's a bi-weekly open drop-in coaching that works from the same coaching methodology. But it's open to whoever can come whenever. There are sort of suggested themes for each week that helps us to kind of stay focused and grounded in an area, but it's always open to what you're bringing in that week. So whatever's up for you, we'll work with it. So that's called the Holistic Creative Group Coaching. And I'll show you on the website. So we'll scroll back up here. Programs. Here's the Liberatory Care Winter Cohort. If you want to read more about that, we do have another info session at 5:30 p.m. next Wednesday. If you want to hear this content again, or you have more questions, or you're curious about this group, as opposed to the Rooted Vision Cultivator, or you can come here down to Learn at Connect. And here we have some information about the Holistic Creative Group Coaching. Book your spot takes you to the connectforwellbeing.com, which is Connect's website. Oh no, that's not true. Just kidding. I updated this. Oh yeah, it is. Okay. Sorry, we just we're going through a transition of our website and booking processes. You can see we just had a transition a few days ago. So here we are. You can read more about this, and there's no commitment. Again, you pay for each session. There's a sliding scale. And finally, if you're like, groups actually aren't for me, then I do one-on-one coaching packages, and you for any of these offerings, if you just want to connect with me and spend more time going into like what is on your mind, what you're trying to achieve, and sort it out, like what would work best for you, you can always book a free call with me at my website. It's on the front page, book free call button, and we'll find some time to connect.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks so much. I'm
Awesome.
going to talk to my boss tomorrow and see if I can get some free time on Wednesday mornings, because I think it's something that I've been wanting to do, and it just popped up and I was like, I need to do this. So
yes.
yeah, I need to speak with her. Tomorrow is her last day before this starts. So
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good luck. And I'm just really curious if you have like 1 minute to share. I can stop recording, but I would love to hear more about what you're creating.
That's
Would
fair.
you be willing to share that?
Yeah. I mean, I can. It's kind of being formulated.
Okay.
But I'm a painter and an artist, and and a graphic designer as well. So there's a couple pieces to it, but a lot of it is just I need to start getting my voice out there and getting my work out there. And I've been struggling to do that, and like finding the time to just like finding the energy to actually work on that is difficult, especially when you're like on a computer all day working, and then part of the work to actually get your voice out there is being on a screen. And I've just been resisting it for like years, and knowing I need to do it. And I know it's the way forward for me, and I know that I can be successful. It's just like a bit of a push. I need some more structure, I guess, in my life. And I just felt like this would be a good way to kind of, make a plan, basically, because it's like in my head, but I actually need to get it out onto paper and then actually stick to it, which is hard. So
Yes, I know it is. I mean, this is the reason why I developed this coaching methodology, is for the same reason.
Yeah.
Because same here, it just like it gets stuck in there. And
Mhm.
sometimes having it out like visually is super helpful to put it all in perspective.
Mhm.
So one of the things that I would encourage you to consider over the next couple of weeks, if you do join the group, you have this really juicy time in the solstice and the dark time of year to go into those soils, go into the depths of what you really want in this life. Why is creating art so important for that? And what are the fruits you're hoping to bear from that? What is the life that you want to create from that place? So just feeling into that a little bit might be a really good place to start.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I was a part of it was a microdosing creativity circle like over the last couple months. And I really enjoyed that, like just being part of a circle and kind of like, stating your intention. But to me, it was too like loosey-goosey, and like there was no structure. It was just kind of, there were workshops on Sundays, and then there was sharing sessions on Wednesdays as well. But it just felt like there wasn't enough, to me, structure behind it. And I kind of came out of that enjoying it, but I was like, I don't have anything. I have a couple things to show for it, but that's what I was missing in that session, although that inspired kind of the path forward. So I'm grateful for that experience. But I felt like coming out of that, I was like, I need to work with like a coach to like really come up with a plan, because this is not, I don't have a plan now, so.
Yeah. Yes. Am I frozen for you?
No.
No? Oh, weird. Okay. My computer is completely frozen. I can still hear you.
Oh no.
But I can't click on anything.
No.
So I'm just gonna trust the universe on this one. Yes. First of all, a microdosing creativity group sounds amazing.
It was.
And reminding me of a psychedelic practitioner I just worked with around this methodology, who is like completely mind blown and like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. And really touched a place around embodying creativity in a way that that she hadn't before, where it's like, oh yeah, I'm not just like producing things, like I am literally creating with every single breath, and with the universe around me. So it's really beautiful, and a way to feel like a connection to spirituality while also getting shit done.
Yeah, exactly.
And getting grounded around it, which I sometimes creative and like spiritual groups miss out on. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited to support you and others in the group to take action. Ultimately, that's what this is about, is not just imagining and enjoying the process of imagining, but taking action and getting feedback and seeing how it feels to start, blossoming a little bit into the world. Because inevitably, when we start to do that, especially when we have been stuck around something for a long time, we often will discover that there's a lot of shame or, stuff that has been keeping us in that stuck place, for whatever reason, protecting us or otherwise. So it's, having that like intimate group environment can be really helpful to witness that process, and also be a collective force of encouragement to send you out into the world. Go do the damn thing, y'all.
Exactly.
And I'm saying that from having experienced it in various coaching groups throughout my career. So I can attest to, like, that's what got me here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I keep having this thing of like, I don't want to regret not doing it, so I have to do it. It's that.
Yes.
Not that should be the driver, but it's like,
I feel you though. It's like I refer to it sometimes as like an existential imperative. It's like what is in that seed of our inner wisdom being like, no, you must you must do this, not just for the regret, but because you'll feel so much more alive and connected to yourself, and then you won't wonder. You'll know what it's like.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I'm excited. I just need to convince my boss to let me maybe work a little bit late on a Wednesday. So